Man, I love talking about YouTube. I love talking about copyright. Apparently, somebody's abusing the copyright system. So let's go ahead and talk about it. This video was sent in from the Discord. Remember, if you want me to check out more videos like this, join Discord and drop them down below. Shout out to Dragoon for putting this in. So let's talk about it.
Time for me to be the bad guy. Today we are looking at a situation here on YouTube that has gotten surprisingly big that many people have asked me to take a look at, and I don't think I'm going to say what people want to hear. Over the last week or so, a situation has arisen between the YouTuber The Manii Show and the YouTuber Engween. This all started after Engween received a copyright strike from The Manii Show for using his clips in a video where Engween is not the nicest guy to The Manii Show. A lot of people think that this copyright strike was done because The Manii Show did not like what the Engween guy was saying, so he did the classic 1-2 combo of being a dogshit YouTuber where you just strike any video that paints you in a light you're not too fond of, which is obviously a shitty thing to do. That's like the biggest taboo of being a content creator. When you start copyright striking anybody for any reason, you are permanently put into a category of YouTuber that you can never come out of. So, with that being said, I would like to preface all of this by saying that I am in no way, shape, or form on the side of The Manii Show whatsoever, okay? But, like I said, a lot of people asked me to check out the video that Engween made talking about his experience, and, well, there's a lot of stuff he says that hundreds of thousands of people are blindly agreeing with that I'm not a super big fan of. You guys know me, I like to keep it pretty objective on this channel, keyword pretty. I'm always going to address both sides of a situation. This is quite literally why I became a YouTuber in the first place, because when people are wrong at a mass scale, it's really hard to get everybody's attention to tell them they're wrong. Why do I feel the need to do that? I don't know. Probably something from my childhood, but that's not something we're here to discuss today. We're here to talk about copyright, so let's not waste any more time. Let's begin.
Pure evil is crazy.
Okay, so from my understanding, this situation all started about a week ago when Engween released a video titled Why Everyone Hates The Manii Show, in which he talks about his short-form content and how it's not very good, which is a pretty fair statement. I watched through the video, and it seems like most of his stuff is either Facebook humor TikTok skits or the laziest reactions a human can come up with. Engween pokes a lot of fun at the guy, and I guess it's
I'm not gonna lie, watching this Minecraft like
reactions
parkour, it's reminded me back in the days of Leafy. Whenever every time he made a video, it was like that CS:GO surfing background footage, man. This is like taking me back.
Can come up with.
It's taking me
pokes
back.
A lot of fun at the guy, and I guess it struck a nerve because a few days later that video received a copyright strike for a 13-second long clip that Engween included in his video, which led to
that really sucks actually to hear that, because that's super extreme, right? It's okay. You know, it sucks that people, are talking bad about you, but to try and strike the video is definitely not something you should do. What you should do is like make a video responding to it, because then at least you're making some more money and you're getting the eyes and the attention on your perspective of the video that already paints you in a negative light. So you could have actually gained more sympathy or gained more respect or gained more money if that's what the goal is whenever it comes to responding to a video like this, by just making a video talking about how you don't like it or how it made you feel. Or you can strike the video and now everybody hates you.
Engween making a video titled The Manii Show Wants My Channel Deleted, talking about the copyright strike he received. A strike that he was pretty upset about, and understandably so. Not only for moral reasons, but because he believed legally he had done nothing wrong. Now, we're going to talk about that more later. That's the section where I think I might end up bumping heads with some people. But addressing the morality of this first, it's morality. Like I said earlier, when you're a content creator, you really can't get any lower than filing copyright strikes, especially false ones. 100%. It's breaking the cardinal rule of being a YouTuber. This is not to say that you can't own your content, but whipping out the copyright strike is just a dirty move. You can claim a video, you can block a video, you can remove a video, you can do all of these things 100%. Without copyright striking another person, which is why copyright strikes are so frowned upon. You can basically achieve everything that a copyright strike achieves without sending a strike. So by sending a strike, you are basically saying, I want to jeopardize your channel. I want you gone. Now, is this justified in certain circumstances? Of course. But striking a person because they made a video saying they don't like your humor? Yeah, that's pretty lame. And it's even more lame if you are a content creator like The Manii Show. The Manii Show, similar to the commentary YouTuber that he striked, basically relies on other people's creations for his content. He makes some original skits, yes, but
it's an ecosystem. Everything on the internet, when it comes to entertainment, is all inside an ecosystem. Somebody makes a profound, amazing video. Somebody then, in turns, makes a reaction to it, increasing the conversation around it. While some people will do a reaction, other people will even parody the situation. Other people will continue by making a part two or whatever, right? We all feed off of each other. And it's so strange that some people just act like that's not how the internet works. It's kind of sad. People need to wake up and realize that we're all eating off the same plate.
most of his videos are either brain-dead reactions, where he does the XQC method of watching something and then making a stupid face, or videos where he lip-syncs some other person's audio. That's majority of his content, which is not exactly the position you would imagine a person to be in when they start casting the copyright strike spell. I mean, it would be like me or any other commentary YouTuber copyright claiming a bunch of videos. You shouldn't try and sneak past copyright law or use weird copyright loopholes and then decide that nobody else gets to use those things if they're making videos you don't like. If you do shit like this, you are akin to a child who thinks that they get all the toys at the daycare, that nobody else gets to benefit from the things you are heavily benefiting from yourself. With all that being said, I think I've made my feelings clear on this Manii Show guy. Let's talk about this strike and let's talk about this conversation about fair use that this whole situation is kind of reignited. Now I want to start this section off by saying I don't really have anything against this Engween guy. Scrolling through his channel, it appears that he makes some questionable content that I don't really agree with, but I didn't really look too deep into it, so I'm not going to form a strong opinion. I'm just going to keep it to this situation, okay? With that being said, I think it's safe to say when it comes to fair use and copyright law, he might be a little bit misinformed. Now, this is not a dig at the guy because I think most people, myself included, basically everyone on the planet is a little bit misinformed about copyright law because it is such an unprecedented area of the American legal system. At least when it comes to this sort of space. Legally speaking, social media is a pretty new thing still. We don't have 100 years of case law to tell us what's okay and what's not. We're getting there, but we're getting there. This is because very rarely do people actually end up taking copyright issues on social media to a courtroom. This has led to a lot of people getting pretty falsely confident in what they think fair use is and what they think they're allowed to do under current copyright laws. And after being asked to watch this video, there are a few things that Engween said that sort of rang alarm bells in my head. So this is really more of a video to kind of dispel some of the myths around fair use and really me just trying to help do my part to protect the YouTube community as a whole. I don't want to see anybody get striked into hell, okay? With that being said, let's talk about this strike. First of all, let's get this out of the way real quick. Do I think this was a legitimate strike? No, absolutely not. This was a false strike 100%. However, this is not because of the reason most people are talking about. A lot of people are saying, oh, well, it was only a 13-second clip. It was nothing. That doesn't really matter. Saying it's a 13-second clip is kind of disingenuous because if the whole clip is 13 seconds, you are using somebody else's entire video. That, in and of itself, is often a very hard thing to prove should fall under fair use. Using somebody else's entire piece of work, no matter how short it is, you're going to have trouble saying that is fair use. This is coming from a guy who often reviews people's entire videos.
So yeah, another thing to add on to that, right? It's a 13-second clip. Did you let the clip play in its entirety? Did you add anything to the clip to make it stand out? Did you put an edit on there? Even if it's a simple, funny edit, humor goes a long way when it comes to trying to discern, the fair use versus, it's just original content and all you did was put something on it. If you could get more people to engage with your editing of the original content, that puts you in a better position when it comes to fair use. Because we live in a world where perception is reality, and the more people you have agreeing with whatever it is that you're saying, well, then that is the way that the world moves. Even if, like legitimately or legally or whatever, it should technically not be a thing. But we're social creatures. If more people agree, then that's usually how the world works.
Don't get me wrong, at no point in this video will I ever be excluding myself from this discussion. Basically, every criticism I make in this video applies to me as well, okay? With that being said, this being a 13-second long video really means nothing. That in and of itself does not make the strike any less legitimate. Normally, what this would come down to is why Engween decided to use this entire video. Did he need to? Did he need to show this entire 13-second long video of this guy sitting at a K-pop concert to make his point? If this went to court, Engween would have to prove that the answer to that question is yes. After that, he would need to prove the purpose of using this clip. These are just the guidelines of fair use. Now, in his video, he says his purposes are critique and comment. In his video, after playing this clip, he makes a few jokes.
By the way, everything that this guy is saying is true.
This
is absolutely true. I just feel like I don't have to really say it's true, but yeah, it's true.
These are critique
For those
and
who
comments.
might be questioning
in his
it,
video,
yeah,
after
true.
playing this clip, he makes a few jokes about the Manii show, saying stuff like he looks like a Karen, he's probably a closeted K-pop fan, stuff like that. Now, those are comments and critiques, but what this would come down to is whether or not a judge thought you needed to play that entire video to make those points. Now, this seems like we're splitting hairs here, and we're talking about like 5 or 6 seconds, but that's just the reality of what this kind of stuff comes down to. A lot of people on YouTube, and I mean a ton, think that as long as you are commentating or as long as you are critiquing something, you are free to do whatever you want with that content. And that's just not true. I will tell you right now, there is likely a non-insignificant amount of my videos that would not fall under fair use if I ever got taken to court. I don't think there's a lot of them because I try very hard to make sure what I'm showing and what I include in my videos is directly related to what I'm talking about. But my point is that the fact that you are commentating on something or critiquing something does not automatically mean whatever you're doing falls under fair use. There's this misconception that if you pause the video enough times or if you talk for a certain amount of time longer than the original video you're talking about, that it magically becomes fair use, and that is just not how it works. I feel like there's a bit of a disconnect when it comes to how people think about internet media and other kinds of media. And
this is an interesting perspective on it, right? So me as a reactor, right? Like he says, pausing it and talking about something, it does not, equate fair use, right? So what is fair use? Fair use, using somebody else's material into your own work, right? So let's just take what he said, pausing a video and talking for a specific amount of time. Does that equate fair use? Absolutely not. Pausing the video and talking about the topic at hand, adding your own perspective and engaging in the conversation, does that turn whatever you're doing into fair use? Now it's a little bit trickier. I can't say 100% yes or 100% no, but this is why we have the legal system. So if somebody was to take, let's say for me, for example, and let's say this video, for example, right? This video made by August the Duck. If he wanted to pursue legal action in my reaction video to his video, right? I inject enough of my own essence into his content where my video is high, right? We could go to court and I could legitimately see a judge ruling in a no contest, even though I may feel what I am saying and what I am adding to the conversation may be beneficial or even enhances the conversation. It always comes down to what the judge thinks, what they think versus what I think versus what August the Duck thinks. You know what I'm saying? So this is why we have the courts. This is why we get the legal teams. We have the evidence. We have many different things to try and skew the opinion from one side to the other. Of course, it's not going to be, cut it. If you cut it in half, how much did he talk in the video versus the original video in fair use? Like, it's not going to be the same thing because this video is 16 minutes. Say I pause this video and I go off and I start talking about soccer or football or presidential debates. What does that have to do with the conversation of YouTube copyright situation? Now, if I was somehow to turn that whole spiel and bring it back around to talking about copyright, okay, well, we have a better case versus I just started off on some tangent and it really went nowhere and then I continued the video. So definitely it's something that's gray and it's murky, and this is why we just have law in general, because not everything is black and white. If anything, life in general is just shades of gray.
You're talking about that it magically becomes fair use, and that is just not how it works. I feel like there's a bit of a disconnect when it comes to how people think about internet media and other kinds of media, and if we could mentally bridge that gap, there would be kind of an aha moment for most people when it comes to stuff like this. For example, let's say I went on Disney Plus and I screen recorded the entirety of Avengers Endgame, okay? I then fired up Audacity, I fired up my editing program, and I went through the entire movie, pausing every 30 seconds to give my thoughts. Do you think I would get a copyright claim? Do you think I would get striked? Absolutely.
You absolutely would. But then it's up to you to take the action to say, no, what I think I did was inferior, even though they, of course, they're the bigger company. They have when it comes to life, if you have more money, you have more ability to do whatever you want. That's just how it works. I don't agree that life should work that way, but that is how life works, right? So if you were to do that, and then you were to get your copyright, because you most likely would, because they have all the money, right? And of course, it's their asset, it's their property, regardless of whatever you did with it. Originally, it came from them. This is where you still have the ability to say, okay, I want to go to court to fight for my right. And you might end up having a no contest, which is better than just losing. But at the same time, what is your percentage chance of winning? Not that high. So are you willing to go and risk putting your point out there? Because even if it is a no contest, what you did affected history, which also would affect more of like the copyright law, how we engage in copyright. Ethan and Gila versus that one guy that didn't like that they made fun of him in a video. That copyright, now we have this, talking about the movie or putting the editing software on the movie or whatever, right? We have more things to add to human history to say, hey, well, this happened in 2024. This happened in 2008. We have a pattern of different judges and different things that happen between humanity. How are we going to choose what's right and what's wrong based off our history? I mean, it's just human nature, right? So I love watching videos like this because essentially everybody looks at it like what's law is law. And law is subject to change depending on how many people agree that it should change. Remember that.
Fucking-lutely. So why should it be any different if you do that to a YouTube video? The answer is because most YouTube channels aren't Marvel, and they either 1, don't care, or 2, they don't want to deal with the legal hassle of taking a person to court for copyright infringement. This is the reality of YouTube commentary. Most people just don't care. But just because you pause it so often, just because you say a certain amount of words, does not magically make it fair use.
Exactly.
That doesn't mean
that okay, he's going to talk about it. Okay, I love
it's not fair use in a lot of cases. There has been multiple times where YouTube has sent me an email saying they rejected a copyright claim or a copyright strike because they believe my video falls under fair use. I don't have to appeal it. I don't have to do anything. YouTube just denies the claim from the get-go. I'm not saying none of my videos fall under fair use, but people tend to vastly overestimate just how much does. Same thing with a song. If I were to play Taylor Swift's latest album and pause every 30 seconds and say, you know what? I don't really like this. It's not going to matter. I'm going to get sent to copyright hell immediately. But
now think about it. You do watch, do the Taylor Swift video. Every 30 seconds, instead of pausing and saying you don't like it, you constructively break down why you don't like it. That gives you a bigger success if you were to take it to court. So the more you're able to critique your own opinion and your own essence of yourself into the media that you're targeting, the easier it is for you to explain to another human being that has the power, hey, this is my opinion. This is why I have it. This is why I think it affects whatever the conversation is. And then, of course, they could say, I don't care. That's Taylor Swift. Or they could be reasonable and say, okay, well, maybe let's look at this, which is what judges are supposed to do, right? They're supposed to not be for one or the other. They're supposed to be in the middle. So the more you're able to articulate your own reason for creating the content in the first place, even if you're using somebody else's, it gives you a bigger success rate when it comes to taking it to law.
I don't really like this. It's not going to matter. I'm going to get sent to copyright hell immediately. Video. But for some reason, people think this magically changes when it's a YouTube video, or it's a TikTok, or it's this, or it's that.
No, whoever created it owns it. Point blank, period. Whatever you decide to do with whatever somebody else used, then it opens up the whole of do I want to pursue legal or not, and blah blah blah. Right? There's so many different straw hairs. It's a great conversation, but it's also tiring for real. For real.
That as long as it's based on the internet. It doesn't. The people who make these videos are still legal copyright holders. They have just as many rights as a big corporation like Marvel or a big name like Taylor Swift.
But the big names, they had more power.
And a lot of people seem to not respect that. So when Engween says stuff like this,
like if I just straight up re-uploaded Manii show clips to my channel, I would understand why the video is being striked. I would get it because I'm just re-uploading content. Understandable. But my content falls under fair use. Like if I just let the videos play and said and did nothing, and I just sat there like Jinx Reloaded or whatever it is, XQC on Twitch, it wouldn't be fair use. But the clips totaled out to be like 2 minutes worth of the video, and my commentary was 8. It's not even like it was majority of the video either. It was basically like a react, and then like it would switch to my commentary, basically.
I get what he's saying. So like this, exactly. So technically speaking, when it comes to copyright, sure, he's still in the wrong, but he's able to express and articulate, hey, this is what I did to either change the conversation or just artistically formulate my own video through somebody else's assets. And then you're talking about using other assets. When does it become fair use? Blase, blase. Is it free? Is it paid for? Right? Think about all the video games that are made using asset packs, right? They have their own legal stuff. Same thing when it comes to videos and content creation. But the thing is, we just don't have enough legal representation. So yeah, I mean, maybe more people should get sued because that will make it easier in the future to navigate the fair use. Because right now it's still a super gray area with landmines all over the place. So if more people step on the landmines, that makes it easier for everybody else to navigate.
If you've never seen my channel before, I would play the clip for context for like 10 to 15 seconds, and then I would talk and give my opinions on the video or whatever, make some jokes, and then I would just yap for like 30 seconds to a minute about the video. Sometimes my reactions are shorter, but it still stands. It still changes the video in some way.
It's like, okay, yeah, that could be the case, but that's kind of a slippery slope. Just because you're playing a 15 or 20 second long clip and then you talk for 30 seconds or whatever, that does not automatically mean whatever you're doing falls under fair use. Like I said, there's this misconception that it matters how long you're showing videos for, or it matters how long you're talking for. It doesn't. What matters is whether or not the copyright content you included in your video was necessary to make the point you made. That's it. I'm not even going to get into the whole transformative debate because most people don't understand that either, and I don't feel like
I was really going to talk about transformative as well.
Talking for another 3 or 4 minutes, but I will say this, I'll try to keep it short. Turning a funny YouTube video where a person makes some jokes into another funny YouTube video where a person makes some jokes, yeah, that's not exactly a 180. Whether or not something is transformative is defined by a lot more than whether or not you just re-uploaded the video by itself. A lot of people seem to think that as long as you add something, you've transformed it. Yeah, it's a lot more.
To transform, you have to engage with the conversation. You have to steer the conversation, whether it's for a negative or a positive or up or down. You have to legitimately engage with the conversation, the talking point, whatever it is that we're referring to, right? So my video, this video, transformative because we talked about many different points on the subject of copyright versus I'm watching this video. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's right. Oh, well, maybe this, and then keep on going, right? That one is not as transformative, which gives you, like I said earlier, less of a percentage of success whenever you take this to like a legal counsel.
More complex than that, but back to where all of this started, back to the question I was answering. I said I don't think this copyright strike is legitimate. Why? Well, first of all, I want to deal with the hypothetical. If the Manii show actually owned what he was copyright striking, I think this would still be seen as a false strike. I think that Engween could argue that he needed to show what he showed to make the points he made, even if they weren't like super.
I mean, regardless, like, let's think about the video, right? His video was why everybody dislikes him. So, of course, you're going to have to show the content, the truth, right? Or is it this one the truth? Like, the reason why people don't like this guy, you're going to have to show some of his content. Like, that's just part of explaining why humans don't like a specific person. Why do people not like Adolf? Well, he did this, this, and this. And also, here's some footage of him doing it. Okay, that makes the case way better than just saying people don't like Adolf because of this, and you have no other evidence besides talking points. Of course, more people know about Adolf than whatever the dude's name. I don't even know his name, right? So, of course, you do need to add the context. You do need to add these clips. You do need to add evidence, essentially, evidence of what the reason is people do not like this person for.
Super important points. They were like hypothetical jokes. I think he could still get away with it. The fact that the video he was talking about is kind of hard to understand if you don't watch the entire 13 seconds helps him as well. You could easily argue that the viewer would need to see the entire video to understand Engween's criticism.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And having this argument is exactly why, like, if you have to say, well, showing more of the clip gives more context, which explains the point of the video, there you go. We have a legitimate reason why he showed the whole 13-second clip versus he just did it and laughed about it, right? Adding more context to and more evidence to the situation, giving you a more successful chance whenever you do take this to law.
Yeah, I think this claim would be bullshit if Manii owned this video, but guess what? He doesn't. This is something I'm kind of surprised I haven't seen anybody talk about, but if you haven't seen the clip I'm talking about, what started all of this was the Manii show copywriting that 13-second long TikTok talking about K-pop, and what's happening in the video is he's covering his ears at some concert. I don't know what concert.
And look, if you showed the clip, that's fair use. This is a perfect example on how showing the full clip would be fair use. Because right now, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. You're talking about K-pop and some dude covering his ears, but I don't really know what you're talking about. There is no example. So sure, you could show the whole 13-second clip. I think it would be fair use. I think it would be transformative enough, right? This is what I would think versus what the judge would think. But even if you decided to show 5 seconds of that, some people would say, oh, it's not fair. Why are you showing parts of the clip anyway? But you need that. You need to show the clip. You need to have the evidence so people can legitimately, fully understand what it is we are talking about. At least that's just what I think.
It is, but it's at a concert of a large artist, and that's all you need to know. Ladies and gentlemen, you do not own videos. You take it at concerts. The people performing at the concert, those are the owners. That is a derivative work of their original songs that they are the copyright holders to. So what Manii did here would likely be seen as copyright fraud. He not only claimed ownership of copyrighted material that is not his, he also filed a DMCA takedown request on content that is not legally his own. Manii, buddy.
You see how law works, man? It's tricky, man. It's tricky. You could think you're all good, but hey, man, there's a gotcha back here that you didn't even know. Yep. That's how it works,
content
bro.
That is not legally his own. Manii, buddy, you fucked up. I don't know what was going through your mind when you decided to do this, but Engween included multiple videos of yours in his video.
Ego.
Why did you choose this one?
Ego.
It was the worst one you could have possibly picked. What could have possibly made you believe you own the rights to a video of a band's live performance? Yeah, that's pretty bold, man. I mean, I know we've been talking about people misunderstanding fair use laws, but you can't really blame anybody for that. These myths and these misunderstandings are so perpetuated on the internet, you can't really blame anybody for not knowing the truth, especially when there's not really like a set in stone truth. But this, holy shit, yeah, that's a new level of stupidity, man. Like a level of stupidity where I hope for your sake this kind of dies down quietly. I did a little looking, and apparently you were at a Tomorrow X Together concert, whose record label is Big Hits Entertainment, who's also home to BTS. And you know what? I'm not too sure if a record label of that caliber would take too kindly to another person claiming their copyright. You might genuinely be fucked here, buddy. Good luck. Well, guys, this video turned out a bit longer than I really wanted it to be.
Likewise.
I didn't mean to ramble for so long. I hope I didn't come across like a douchebag trying to be all lectury, but I'm just trying to look out.
You're trying to educate and you're trying to help people understand the messiness that is copyright and transformative work. Bro, you're gonna have to flex your your endorphins a bit. You feel me?
Out for people. Getting a copyright strike fucking sucks, and I think a lot of people go into territory where it's really easy to get one because they're misinformed about what fair use actually is. Really, to no fault of their own. So as an obvious fan of the commentary genre here on YouTube, I'm just trying to look out for my boys, okay? Engween, if you see this video, I hope you don't take anything I said personally. Like I said, most people on this website misunderstand fair use. I did too until a few months ago when I decided to really dive into it to try to familiarize myself with it. It's a really confusing system we have to abide by, but abide by it we must.
Yeah, it's definitely confusing because you got to think somebody made something, somebody in turn wants to talk about whatever was made. How can they make it their own versus people that just outright steal it, right? People that make jokes about dating, right? You have several people that do this. Bill Burr is just one of them, right? Versus you taking what Bill Burr said and then just regurgitating it. That's obviously stealing. But Bill Burr is not the first comedian to ever talk about relationships, right? So his words versus the work of relationships versus your interpretation of his words of relationships still derived from somebody else, whoever the first person was to talk about relationships openly, right? What they own versus what everybody else owns, because the first person to talk about it, they're not the person that created the idea of relationships, right? So it's definitely something deep. It can get confusing and it can get messy, 100%, right? But this is why we have the legal system. And this is why the legal system also isn't perfect, because different opinions, different, priorities, different objectives of what people want. And it gets messy. It absolutely gets messy. And it's not easy unless you really care or you just can really understand it, like the perspectives of other people. Then yeah, it's just something that's difficult. I completely understand. Even me, like, I'm honestly getting a little mentally exhausted just making this video alone, because it is a lot and there's a lot you do have to talk about. And I just watched the Jinxie video, so it's not like I'm in the best headspace anyway.
The Manii Show. If you see this, stop being a copyright striking loser, and maybe try and familiarize yourself with copyright law before you mess around and get hit by the 1-2 combo by Big Hit's legal team, okay? Might do you some good. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and walk on over to that subscribe button and touch it. It's free. It won't cost you anything, but
yeah, do exactly what you said. Hit like and hit subscribe. This was a great video. I enjoyed this. Thank you for submitting this into the Discord. If you want more videos like this, go to the Discord, put it in the video request, and I will check it out. Till then, it's your boy KhunShawn. I'll see you guys on the next one. Have fun out there on the internet. Bye-bye.